This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning, good evening. So welcome back, and we'll start off our session today with anything as we have discussed last time, that if you guys have anything which wasn't clear, or maybe we can have a quick recap of what we did last week, and then from there we can take it off. And if you guys have any doubts, we can take it up and then move forward with the other topics in OKTA. So as a recap, I'll just quickly share my screen and to do a quick recap of what we have done till now. And yeah. Just let me know once my screen is visible. Is my screen visible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Screen visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you for the confirmation. Okay, yeah. So we started off our the training sessions with what is identity and access management. We understood what are the different domains we have, like what identity management means, what access management means, how this IAM model works, and why do we require IAM. So we understood how this works, and then we went deep into what the identity management is all about, what is authentication, what is authorization, and stuff like some general terms what we have in the identity and access management terms, like single sign-on, multi-factor, or provisioning, reporting. Then we saw, like, what are the currently, where do we stand, and what are the scopes or the future of IAM. And then we looked into what is identity as a service, because Okta acts as your identity as a service. And then finally, we went on to the single sign-on protocols. We saw what SAML is, we understood what OIDC is, secure web authentication. And then finally we went on to do some practical demonstrations on the Okta side. So, like, we understood how to achieve SAML integration using Okta, and we understood how do we get OIDC integration using Okta. And then we had certain flows for SAML, and certain terminologies for SAML and OIDC, which we tried to understand. I hope you guys remember those terminologies, because they are very important when we talk about single sign-on. And the flows what we have gone through, like this is one of the SAML flow what we gone through last week. So I hope you guys remember what how the SAML works. If you don't, I would request everyone to please go through it and revise it. If anything is not clear, just come back with it.
Okay, sir. One question for SAML, right, sir?
Yeah.
SAML, we need both agreement, right? Both parties. Like we need a client agreement, right? So SAML. So and
right.
we are getting the XML file from Okta, and we are getting XML file from client, right, sir?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we are connecting, we are putting, like, whatever from a client, like the application, we are putting into the Okta, and whatever Okta XML we are putting into, in the web, right, sir? And we are submitting that XML.
Right.
Okay, so what exactly we are doing here, sir, right? So once I click on the SAML application, it directly go to the page and it is opening the page, right, sir? And I think there is no connectivity and all. And you opened one cognizant window, and you try to do something. That part I didn't get it, sir. Like. So you mentioned there are two types and connections and stuff like that. So basic thing I got it, overall idea, but you mentioned like there are two different types of connections there and all stuff like that. And you opened a cognizant window, and that part I didn't get it, sir. Like.
Okay. So let's again discuss that. It's again a very important topic, because when we are working with the client for any SAML application, they might come up with the requirement of that we want to log into the application using our own link, or we want to log into the application using your Okta dashboard. So when we are, hearing about these two terminologies, that we want to log in using our own application link, that means it's an SP initiated flow, that is like, service provider initiated flow. Why service provider? Because that is your first landing point. You are going to your application, from application you are going to Okta, from Okta you are getting authenticated, and then back to your application. So that becomes your service provider initiated flow. And if the application team, no, we want, an icon to be displayed here on your dashboard, um, somewhat like this. We want an application to be displayed here on the dashboard, and we are fine with it. I don't have any application right now, but we have seen, right, like when we add applications, we can see. So if the requirement is that we want to see that application over here, and only then if we click on it, we get back to the application. That is like the IDP initiative flow. Okay, so that's what I was trying to demonstrate over there. Because like, see, if I've already created a session in Okta, right, so I don't need to log in anywhere else. Like, even if I go to the application URL, I'll be directly logging into the application, or if I am onto the Okta, I'll be directly logging again, you right? So what I was trying to show is, like, if you do not have a session created with Okta, if you're not logged in with Okta, then the first step is to either you are going from application, or directly from Okta, you need to authenticate yourself in Okta. And once you do that, then that single sign-on feature works. Because, see, eventually what are we trying to achieve is single sign-on. Single sign-on means, like, you sign in once, and you are logging into the application without entering your credentials again and again. So I think, like, that day when we went to the incognito window, we were trying to achieve this single sign-on concept, which means, like, just creating a session again. Because, like, see, I am already logged in right now, so it might not make sense. Okay, I just clicked on the application, I went in the application. So I wanted to show you guys, like, if you do not have a session, then you need to create a session. And that's what single sign-on is all about. Like, you need to create a session once, and until you have that session with you on your browser, till that time you can log into the applications without entering your credentials. So identity provider is like, you directly go over here and then click, you'll be redirected to the application after successful authentication. And if in case you are service provider, like, you go to the application URL, then also you will be redirected to the Okta, and then from Okta back to the application. So that day, I think what we were trying to do was, like, there was a application URL which was generated, like the demo site which we were trying to hit, I mean, to do the integration with. So that URL was generated, and we were just trying to hit that URL in the incognito window. The reason being, because I do not have any session created in incognito window. So in that demo, we understood, we learned that, okay, when I hit that URL, I was getting redirected back to Okta. Okay, now, how that application URL knows that I have to redirect? Because they both have the configurations of each other, service provider as well as the identity provider. So I was getting redirected to Okta. I just tried to enter my credentials. I was logged in, and then I actually got back into the application. So that's what we were trying to achieve, and, like, that's what we have, the service provider initiated flow and the identity provider. So if you already have a session with Okta, or if you don't have, just log into the application, Okta application, see the application icon over here, click on it and go to the application. That's your IDP initiated flow. So that's what we were trying to achieve. Is that clear? Was I able to answer it out?
Yes, sir. I got it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, perfect then. So that's what SAML was all about. And like, next we saw the OIDC. We did mention that, we have various grant types in OIDC, which out of which, one of the most common or the most used grant type is the authorization code grant type. And over here we understood, like, how this flow works. We have the application, we have the authorization server and the API, and what is this concept of client ID, client secret, and the auth code. So accordingly, like, we haven't done a live demo, but we demonstrated it using, seeing what an authorization server is, or how the OIDC configurations looks like, and like, how do we create custom scopes and claims and stuff like that. So Then secure web authentication was another, protocol which we mentioned that it's a single sign-on protocol, but it's not a federation protocol because we don't, configure configurations on both the service provider and the identity provider side, and hence, it's just a workaround protocol where federation is not possible. So this is one of the not this is not a standard protocol. It's something Okta has come up with, and hence only to use it when you don't have anything else to do it. When you'll be working with Okta, you'll find many instances where you'll be using the secure web authentication because there are many applications which doesn't support SAML and OIDC, and still we want to go ahead and do single sign-on with them. So in those scenarios, this the protocol comes in very handy, and we saw a demo of how do we configure it, and how can we achieve it. So that this demo was with the Salesforce application, using a creating a test account in Salesforce, and accordingly manage it using Okta. Then I think we all have our accounts on Okta now, and we just started off with what Okta is all about, and the architecture of Okta and what different services Okta offers to us. So I'll just pause off for a moment. If you guys have any doubts, please come up with them. Otherwise, we'll move forward in the class.
Sir, can I share my screen and show that these things? I have few questions I can ask.
Okay.
I created already Salesforce and everything. So
Sure.
okay. So I didn't get the access to share the screen. Srinivas.
Okay, even I am not getting that option of how to share that organizer permissions with you. I think, are you on your phone, or I mean, I can
No,
obviously.
I'm in this one Srinivas. I'm in the laptop and I am in the phone for voice, and I am
I
in
can give you
laptop.
the permission.
Srinivas, right? Srinivas.
Yeah.
You can see this. Yeah. So can I? It's saying like yeah. I think I can share. I think let me share.
Yeah, you can share, I guess.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Let me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. So like I created the Salesforce, sir. Like the Salesforce. So let me. Can move this a little bit. I can. Okay. I think yeah. So I can see here like my end user dashboard.
Okay.
Okay. I have here Salesforce.
Yeah.
Okay. So once I'm clicking the Salesforce. So this is I'm good, sir. Like so it is accessing the Salesforce and so login. So
yeah,
this is working. So let me. Okay, so SAML, what I done was like let me show you SAML.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting this on this page, sir, like authentication details.
Right.
So I done everything in the SAML, like both like XMLs I put it and everything I done, sir.
Correct. So I think
SAML.
Itself, because it's a dummy application, so that's where we intend to land after the successful single sign-on. So I think you're on the right page itself.
Okay, so you done like some Cognizant window, sir, right, sir? So if I go to Cognizant window and you put the URL or something, right, sir? Or what you
I
done?
put the application unique login URL. So that was generated when I, tried to, when I entered the identity provider metadata. So when I submitted the metadata, there was a unique login URL for the application that was generated. So if you have that copied, you can just go ahead and hit that URL in the incognito window, and you'll be able to do that SP initiated flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sir. That's fine. And let me close this first.
Sure.
And one more thing, like, okay. Give me 1 second, sir. It's asking code. Nine. Okay. And applications. So what I done was I create the third one you mentioned, right, sir? The web app, right? I created that web app, and so what is the difference between this web app and SAML, sir? Like, so we are here also we are doing the same thing, right? We are creating, and we need both agreements should be readed, and we need to supply this client ID to the customer, and they need to configure it and all, right, sir?
Correct. Yeah, that's fine. See, whenever we talk about any federation protocol, right? So there has to be some handshake between both the parties. So we have to do something like like if you don't know what exactly to do, but like think of it like you have to do something, because like that's how two parties will trust each other, right? Like they cannot be just there cannot be a handshake with only one guy shaking the hand. So that's how it is. Like both the parties will be shaking their hands over here in some way, like some configuration exchange. So it's not a web app, actually it's an OIDC protocol. So like web app is something like an application which is hosted on the web, and then you have client installed applications like your Outlook over here, or maybe like anything which is installed, like your Eclipse, it's an installed application, right? So that is something which is installed on your application, that becomes your installed application, I mean client installed application, and anything which you can access from the browser becomes your web app. But what we were trying to do in this OIDC protocol was that there are different grant types. Like in SAML, you have only two flows. One is IDP initiated flow, and the other is single service provider initiated flow. In OIDC, you have different grant types. You have resource owner grant type, implicit grant type, client credentials grant type, authorization code grant type, and out of which, like now, which to use when is something you need to decide. Like, okay, application team will come, or like the client will come to you saying that, okay guys, I need to integrate an application with OIDC, and I don't know anything about OIDC. You as an Okta developer, please suggest me what should I do. So at that point of time, I need to understand what is their application, what is the feasibility of their application, and then only I'll be in a position, right, to suggest them something, right? So like I will, if I come to know that okay, it's a web application, it's hosted somewhere on the cloud, and this is the, like, it's using some normal functionalities, then I'm comfortable to suggest them, let's go ahead with the authorization code grant type, and that's what we use like for the maximum number of times. But if they are like, no, we just want some APIs to exchange, and there is no user over here, then I'll understand that use case. Okay, there are no users in this, so let's go ahead with client credentials grant type. So like based on the use cases, or if they have a single page application, like just one application, like the application which just have a single page, so then I can say, okay, let's go ahead with implicit grant type. So there are different grant types which we have, and out of those, most used or the most familiar one which is commonly used everywhere for OIDC is the authorization code, and that is used when we have the web applications with us. So over here also, like, only the flow differs. Like it's not how SAML works. Like there is no concept of service provider or IDP provider over here in OIDC. It's more of like that there are certain credentials which are generated. These credentials are combined with the authorization code, and then when we combine all of this, this is validated by the authorization server, which is your Okta. I mean Okta, in Okta, it is not your Okta, it's like an authorization server inside Okta which validates it, and if it is satisfied, then you are being granted ID token and the access token. So over here you are granted ID token and access token. There is no concept of ID token and access token in SAML. So that's how these two protocols differ. Both have their own advantages. Both are secure. Like it's like it's not like to like comparison, to be honest. Like you might ask that then when to use SAML, when to use OIDC. To be very honest, I would say if an application can support SAML, go ahead with SAML. If it cannot, if they want OIDC specifically, then let's go ahead with OIDC. See, both are good in their own way. They don't have like okay, like SAML is more secure, OIDC is more secure. You might have a lot of debates over this, but both are secure, to be honest. So like debate can we use SAML or OIDC before over secure web authentication? So answer is yes, but vice versa, no. Like we shouldn't use secure web authentication over SAML and OIDC. If your application is feasible to support SAML and OIDC, go ahead with it. If not, then go ahead with secure web authentication. But yeah, I mean, like the configurations are being exchanged on both the sides for the federation protocols.
Okay, sir. So, like, for example, I work in the bank. So, we have a Citrix application, not web application, for the trading application. So, is that we can use this same thing, like, to authenticate those kind of things, or
See, Citrix,
or
to be
we
honest,
should
is
go
kind
ahead.
of a VPN, I guess. Uh, like I think it kind of acts as a firewall to get into your system, and it just adds a layer of security like Citrix. So Citrix, if you want to have integrations with Citrix, then that scenarios you need to, I think, install certain Okta agents to actually interact with Citrix. So with Citrix, it's not a straightforward integration, to be very honest, because Citrix is not coming with any web application, right? So
Yeah, yes, sir. We use a Symphony to authenticate it. Yeah,
exactly. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah. We are
Okta
something.
does have some like integrated web with IWA agents which actually help you to connect it with your desktop. So it's called desktop single sign-on. Currently we are using single sign-on only, right? Okta has desktop single sign-on which allows you to authenticate, like okay, like based on your organizational settings, there would be a VPN which will be which will be redirecting you back to the Okta screen. So that and all is possible, but like it's not done in the same way what we are seeing till now.
Okay, sir. And in this case, you go to security and you done that API default API and kind of thing, sir.
Mhm.
Can you give a brief of that one? Like, so you created like when you went into default and you created scope claims and some token to that.
Right.
Just to give a brief of those how you are used.
So what we were trying to do over here was see, I did mention that if you go to the access policies of this default server, access policies, that fourth tab, yeah, this one. So over here, it is assigned to all clients, right? So, and it's only assigned for all OIDC application. You create 500 applications in Okta, and out of which only 5 applications are OIDC, then it's just applying to those 5 applications, those 5 OIDC applications. It's not getting applied to all 500 applications. Okay, so what happens over here is like, when I mentioned about OIDC, right? So in the flow, I did mention that you have a user, you have an application, then your authorization server, and then finally your API. So that authorization server is something what you're seeing right now on your screen. So by default, there is an authorization server which is created by Okta, which is applicable to all the to all the applications within Okta. You don't have to like create different authorization server for each of the application. If you are not creating any of the application, I mean authorization server, by default this will be used. If you are creating one, then you can just provide the metadata of that particular application, I mean of that particular authorization server which you have created, and then you can just circulate it back to the application team and they can configure it. So they will hit that new authorization server which you will be providing them. If you go back, if you go back to that general tab of this authorization server, so you will find out that there is a metadata URI. So that's like a default metadata URI. Okay, so it's always used whenever, if you scroll up, If you just scroll up, yeah, if you go to settings, if you go to the, yeah, over, if you scroll down, no, over here you will find out that there is a metadata URI. This is your metadata URI. So this is like your default metadata URI. If you just, copy paste and hit on your server, you will find out what are the different details this metadata URI, provides you. So that's what it is like, there is like, yeah, exactly, this is something. So now the thing is like, this is in the JSON format, this is being passed by the application team, and they understand, and this metadata URL allows them to get the like the authorization code, because they have the client ID and client secret what we have already provided them. Then when they use this metadata URI, they get the auth code. Now the combination of auth code, client ID, client secret is validated over here in the authorization server. And once authorization server is satisfied, yes, you are a legitimate user coming with the correct set of combinations, like the client ID, client secret, and the auth code. At that point of time, authorization server says go ahead and get the ID token and the access token. So that's what we were trying to preview in that token preview tab. Because for SAML, we have SAML tracer to trace it. I'll be showing you guys, how SAML tracer works, because it becomes a very handy tool when you do SAML integration. But for OIDC, we don't have any such tools. Like, we don't have a lot of extensions or tools online to, actually go ahead and trace every bit of it. So that's why sometimes token preview helps us to understand whatever we are sending to the application team is something, is it right or not. So if the application team is coming back to you saying that no, you guys are not sending the correct data, so at that point of time you can do a token preview and show it to them that this is something what you expected and we are sending you. So it's like not something to be done at our end. So that's what token preview is all about. Like if you just go back to that screen and to see, over here,
So
if you have,
is there anything used here, sir, in this XML, in this metadata? Are we using anything like previously we used the URL and ID and all, right? So is there
no, we are
anything
not,
we are using here?
no.
No, no. Okay.
We'll be using something if you require API. If you go back to that metadata URL, so if in case you require some, something like, you might be able to see some, endpoint URLs over here. Like there is a token endpoint URL. So maybe if you are requesting a token directly, like if an application team is directly requesting the token, they'll be using this. Like they'll be
Okay.
using this HTTPS Outlook Bank dot okta.com/over/2/default/vn/token. So this is an API, like this is an API URL which will allow you to get the token. So this is to be done by the application, and that's where this concept of API comes into existence for authorization, or for OIDC. But we as an Okta developer, we don't have to do it. But like we as an Okta developer should be knowing it, that if the application team requires something, so what API to provide them. So that is something will be covered in the API topic. I haven't discussed that till now, but for the time being, on based on the configurations, you don't have to do anything with this metadata. You just have to give them this metadata URL to the app team.
Go to token, sir. Yeah, I went to token.
Yeah. So over here, it's like, if you have any OIDC client, so that's what I told. Like if you have like 500 applications, out of 500 applications, you have only 5 OIDC client applications. So if you just find any of the OIDC application, it will automatically pop up, and then you can do a token preview for it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I got it. So I can stop sharing.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So probably we'll start off with our session today. It was good, like you guys came up with your doubts. I hope they are clear now. If in case you have more, just come up with them, because like it's better to just clear them than to move on with the sessions, because ultimately our aim is you understand and learn Okta, not just cover the syllabus. So we'll just again come back to the topics. So universal directory was something we started last time, what universal directory is all about, and why Okta is coming up with the universal directory. And now today we are going to talk about users and groups. It's not a very difficult topic, to be very honest, because we will be creating users, we'll be creating groups, we'll be creating users through like your CSV. Just try to follow it. It's like not very difficult, but it's not that easy also. You need to understand what kind of users can be available in Okta, and how do we deal with different types of users. So talking about users and groups, so first of all, just to show it to you guys that we have the concept of users over here in the directory tab. So this is like Okta's universal directory. And if we are talking about directory, then we are like then we will be having users, right? So if you go back to people, over there in people you can just create multiple users, and that's where we see our identities. That's where I have created, like, whatever profiles you see are under users. Now there are different statuses which we have, like you have staged user, you have pending user action, you have an active user, password reset, logged out, suspended, deactivated. We are going to talk about each and every user, but for the time being, like if you want to add a user, it's very simple. Just go ahead and add a person. So like this is where we see people and group, and these are those two tabs. These are very important tabs, to be honest, because for many organizations, I'm not sure, like you might work with an organization for which Okta acts as your single source of truth. So in those scenarios, like uh, think of it in a scenario whenever a new user joins an organization. If you're joining any firm, your user will be created in Okta itself for the very first time. And hence, like this becomes very important for us to understand that because no user should be missing from this directory, like or if any user is missing, or something is suspended, or like someone is logged out or password is not working, so we can understand from this directory like what is happening with that user. Being an admin, we would be in the best situation to understand and know like what is happening with that user. So that's why this is very important, like to understand what is people and what is groups in Okta, what are groups in Okta. So let's go back to the slide, and then we'll come back over here again. So talking about users, you can manage users in groups or individually. Each one of your users, whether you are workforce or your customer base, has a unique identity within Okta. So whenever we were trying to create, right, so you might be seeing that, okay, if I just give first name, maybe like I've just given my first name and last name, I'm not giving my email, and I'm just trying to save, so I'll be getting this because the reason being I already have an identity. I mean, there is nothing unique. No, I can still create multiple Vibhor and Garg. My organizations can still have 10 people with the same name Vibhor Garg, but there has to be something unique about that employee which distinguishes it from the other 9 employees, right? So in Okta also, like it's not just with Okta, to be honest, it's with every directory. Like there has to be some unique identity associated with that user, or a unique attribute like which identifies that user from, or which distincts that user from other users. So this identity lets you view and manage which apps and on device a user can access, the groups to which the user belongs, and the user's identity information and status. In addition, Universal Directory lets you store an unlimited amount of users and attributes from apps and sources like Active Directory or HRMS systems. Any type of attribute is supported, including linked objects, sensitive objects, and predefined lists. All of it is accessible by all apps in our OIN catalog over LDAP or through API. So see, what we were trying to say over here is like, first of all, now users, see, there is not 100% guarantee that users are just going to be created in Okta. Okay, so if we talk about, there could be a possibility like, just give me, I'll just open my notepad. Okay, so there could be a possibility that users are created. There is Active Directory. Okay, I'll just completely write this. There is Active Directory, and Active Directory can have a lot of users. Like for I can tell you for 60 to 70% Active Directory is the go-to place for any user-based directory for an organization. Okay, so this is going to be the most important part you'll be working with when you'll be in the organizations. Okay, so Active Directory is something, I think, like 80 to 90% of the times it will be integrated with Okta. Like it has to be integrated. Like from most organizations, it is like there are different marketplaces which an organization works with. Like maybe with marketplaces, I means like your organization is there, and for maybe like Canada, there is one instance, like there is one office, then you have an office in Seattle, then you have an office in New York. So like, there could be different places, and for every office location, there could be one Active Directory created. Okay, we have an office that Active Directory created for Seattle. So that will contain all the employees or all the users of Seattle office. You'll have an Active Directory for New York office. So that will contain all the users of New York office. So now you want to have a single source of truth. You want that like, I don't want like five different, you have five offices in like and five offices location, and you don't want that you have to find users for in five different directories. So what you will do is like, you'll you'll integrate all those five directories with Okta. Now Okta becomes your single source of truth, because Okta is having all five office-based locations users, right? So Okta will have Seattle users, Okta will have New York users, Okta will have Canada users, Okta will have all the users. So now where are these users coming from? They're coming from your Active Directory, because that's where your original users are going. No, like whenever if you're joining a Seattle office, nobody is creating your account in Okta. They are creating your account in Active Directory of Seattle, and then from Active Directory of Seattle, those users are getting moved to Okta, because there is like a synchronization which is happening, because these two applications are integrated with each other. Okta and Active Directories are integrated with each other, so they have to the users will be moved from Active Directory Seattle location to Okta, right? So that's where your Okta will become your single source of truth. So that's where, like, and it could not just be Active Directory. There could be some, like, it's not necessary that everyone will be using. There could be possibility that many people are using some different directories, or they are just getting the data over an API or stuff like that. So in those scenarios, like, you just need to integrate with Okta everything. So I don't know if you know about Workday or not. So Workday is one of the HRMS systems. So whenever you apply for job, so your account is created on Workday, okay, and over there you can, okay, see that your interview is scheduled, or your application is shortlisted, then your interview is scheduled, then after interview, if you are you're like, if you're selected, then you are in the offer phase, and then once whole of this process is completed, if you have finally cracked everything, you have done all the interviews, you have accepted the offer, then you see that your account identity is created in Workday. Now that is all being done by the HR, and they have a Workday tool. They'll just keep on doing it on the Workday, and from Workday we'll be integrating it with Okta. So now the user will be going from Workday to Okta if in case the user is selected and accepted the offer. So that's how it goes. Like, there could be scenarios like, you can have different types of users in Okta. You can still go ahead and create it. These are all Okta mastered users, because they are created within Okta. What I have just described is about different application users, like Active Directory example. What I told, that is like active AD mastered users, like directory mastered users. Like application one, I told, that is like application mastered users, because any user coming from the application becomes your application master. Any user created in the Okta becomes your Okta master. Any user coming from any directory, be it Active Directory or LDAP directory, becomes your directory mastered users, right? So that's how it is. And also about the unique identity, if I go to a particular user, right, so you will be able to see, like, just try to see this URL. Okay, so I'll just go back, and I'll just go back to this user again. Okay, so you will see that you are in a profile view, and this is that unique identity which which Okta helps you to identify it with. And if you'll be using your APIs, if you'll be if you'll be we will be working with, there would be an API session which in which I will be showing you that what this means, and how do we work with this user ID. So but this is like a user ID which is unique to Okta. You cannot have a same user, I mean, or any other user created from any directory, from any application, or within Okta with the same user ID again, because this is something which will has to be unique. So this will help us to identify what applications are assigned to this user, what groups are assigned to this user, and the profile information. So like you can see that there are different attributes which you can see in Okta. And yeah, I mean, like, you can just go ahead and edit any of them. You can just add, or stuff like that. So that is something like what we were talking about here. And now how do we manage users? So use the people space. So that is something we have already gone, right? And now if you see, if you are we just mentioned about the Active Directory stuff, right, or the application stuff. So there could be scenarios wherein you need to add and update users in Okta for the very first time. So there could be a possibility that your user is created in Active Directory. You have a user created in Active Directory, okay, because that's where, like, the employee joined the Seattle office. In the Active Directory of Seattle, the account was created on the very first day. Okay, user is created in Active Directory, but not found in Okta, but not yet synced with Okta. Okay, but it is still not synced with Okta. It is not into the Okta right now. Okay, so what will happen? User will try to, like, maybe user is trying to use up or leverage any particular application, and at that point of time user won't be able to get into the application. The reason being because the user does not have any account in Okta, right? So in those scenarios, we are coming up with a new concept of JIT. Now, this is just-in-time provisioning. Try to understand, it's very simple, but like, it might sound you a little bit technical. So just try to understand. We call it JIT, and it's just-in-time provisioning. So in those scenarios, what happens is, like, if the user is not having any account in Okta, then and there at the time of login, an account would be created in Okta. Okay, that's what JIT is all about. If in case there is a user within Okta, like within Active Directory, for which an account is not created yet in Okta, and you are not able to log in to Okta, so if JIT is enabled, if just-in-time provisioning is enabled at that point of time, then and there would be a account created within Okta, and you will be able to access. But for that, you need to have an account in AD. We are not talking that you don't have an account in AD and you were trying to log into Okta and you got your account created, because that is something like then anyone can get into your system, right? Like, so why this is happening? Because that at that point of time, user will be authenticated in the Active Directory itself. Now this Active Directory and Okta are integrated with each other. Okay, so think of it like all the users from Active Directory are coming to Okta, right? So now when all the users from Active Directory are coming to Okta, then when they are into Okta, Okta authenticates those users when you are trying to. Like currently over here, if I go, Okta is authenticating Swamini, or if I go to any other user, Okta is the one who is authenticating those users. Like these all users are being authenticated by Okta. They are not being authenticated by any other third party because there is no integration yet, right? But if in case you have your Active Directory or any directory integrated with Okta, let's talk about Active Directory to be precise. So in those scenarios, you have 5 users created in Active Directory which are not into Okta yet. They are only created in Active Directory. They haven't been synced with Okta yet. In those scenarios, what will happen is, because Okta and Active Directories are integrated with each other, and if one of the users are trying to log into Okta using their Active Directory credentials, like for example, they have the username ABC password 123, okay, in Active Directory, and they are trying to log in with those credentials over here in Okta. So what will happen is Okta will say, okay, I don't have a user, but I have a connection with AD. And if JIT is enabled, it will go back to the Active Directory. It will validate those credentials what the user have entered, the like ABC123. If it finds a user with this credential, it will say it will only do the stuff if JIT is enabled. If in case JIT is not enabled, nothing is going to happen. Like even if we have a user in Active Directory, Okta will not go back to Active Directory, looking for a user. It will only go back to Okta to Active Directory looking for a user if JIT, that is just-in-time provisioning, is enabled. If in case Okta finds a user in Active Directory with these set of credentials, Okta will say, okay, yes, you are a legitimate user. I know you don't have your account created within me. Let me create an account for you. Then and there, at the time of login, an account will be created, and that's what we call JIT. That is your just-in-time provisioning. So at that point of time, you will see a user created over here, and that user will be your uh, Active Directory mastered user, because that user has come from AD, right? Like that is not something created directly in Okta. That is like Okta understood that there was some user which was not imported within my application, so then and there it will just import that user within the application, and just we can just go ahead and validate or authenticate yourself successfully within Okta then. So that's what this concept is all about. Like I'll just pause here for a moment. If in case it's not understood, please let me know. Like, if this JIT concept or whatever we discussed till now in last 15 minutes, anything is not clear, please let me know.
So, like, how you integrate Okta with ADS, right? Active Directory, right?
Right. See, actually, we have a separate session complete for the directory integrations, wherein we can just add active directories or LDAP directories. The thing is, like with Active Directory, we cannot have a live session because live demo. The reason being because Active Directory is not coming in free license. Like we cannot even create any free trial license with AD. So we need to have a licensed version of Active Directory to show you guys the live demo. But what we can have is like the LDAP. Now LDAP and Active Directory is also an LDAP directory, but it's like just a different way of representing data. So we can try to have something on LDAP directory, and not a live demo, but I can show you guys how the directories are integrated. So this is again a very important topic which we have in Okta, the directory integrations. And yeah, I mean, like that point of time you'll understand, okay, directory is integrated, what all attributes will be coming inside Okta from the directory, what like attributes of the user. Like you might have 100 attributes of the user in Active Directory, but you just want 30 attributes to be passed over Okta. So how do we do that? How do we send the OU groups and stuff like that and back to Okta? So that is something which will be covered within the directory integrations. But for the time being, I mean, like visually or theoretically, if something is not clear, then you can come up with those things.
And one more thing, you mentioned that, right? So Active Directory, somebody created in Active Directory, it is not there in Okta, right? So and
Hmm.
we already integrated these two. That's why, like, okay, so one, how it will created JTA or that one, sir? Like, or like so Active Directory, there are 10 people, there are 10, they're not merged into the Okta, right? So it will create JTA. So it will automatically create JTA, or there's some communication between yeah, Active Directory and Okta, then Okta created JTAs.
Right. So the JIT, that is just in time provisioning, that is like once you have your directory integration done, no, in that directory integration, you have the configuration setting to actually go ahead and give Okta that allow Okta to take that control. Now, because see, what is happening is you have your think Active Directory is just another. If you know about databases, I'm not comparing database with a directory because they are two completely different stuff. But like if you are more comfortable in understanding a database, think of it like your Active Directory is just a database of users. Okay, you have your users stored in a directory. Now that's like an application that has nothing to do with Okta for as of now. Okay, we went ahead to the directory integrations, we added our Active Directory, and that's where now our Active Directory is integrated with Okta. Okay, there is a link between these two applications, Okta and Active Directory. We have created a link by doing a integration. Okay, so the in directory integrations. Now what happens is like when we need to enable JIT, that is just in time provisioning, at that point of time we are giving liberty to Okta, saying, hey Okta, go to Active Directory, search that user with the certificate credentials which the user has entered. If you find something, then sync that user to yourself. So see, this is now something confidential. Okta should not have that much of liberty, right? Because Okta for AD, for Active Directory, Okta is a third-party application. For Okta, Active Directory is a third-party application. They can trust each other, but they cannot, just simply like rely on each other. Like, see, we guys are communicating, we trust each other, but that doesn't mean that I can give you my account details or you can give me my account details, right? That is something personal to us. So again, that same goes for the applications over here. They can trust each other, but they contain certain confidential data which they don't want to share, right? So if they want to share, there has to be some configuration settings done. If in case there are no configuration settings done, they won't allow to do anything within their directory structure. But if you're allowing explicitly, you're explicitly telling Okta, no, I don't have any issues. You come find the user. If you get the user, sync it in back to your application. So that's where AD is saying. AD doesn't have any issue. If I don't have any issue giving you my account details, why would you say no to it, right? So, or you, why would I say no to it? So that's what it happens. So like Active Directory is communicating to Okta. I don't have any control. I don't have any issues, buddy. You can just come in, check the user. If you find it, go back and take the user. At the same time, it could be, restricted access. AD is not saying that, oh, hey Okta, you can come in, you can change the user, delete the user, add a user. No, no. It's saying if you find the user, find can only be done by read-only permissions. Like if you are able to read a user with this set of credentials, go ahead and take that user in your application as well. So that's what JIT is doing. So you need to enable JIT, and that JIT is enabled when you are able to do the directory integration. Under directory integrations over here, you have the JIT concept, like in which you allow the Okta to become that to take that command and go to the AD, find that user and take it back to the application. So that's how JIT is enabled.
Okay, sir, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so that's what, that's what JIT is all about. So now over here, if you just see, right, so we can add and update users with JIT in Okta for the very first time when a user authenticates with AD delegated authentication, desktop single sign-on, or inbound SAML. Now AD delegated authentication is exactly what I'm trying to say. See, if you know the literal meaning of what delegation is, so delegation is something like you are just segregating the work. Like, okay, we might be working, we all might be working in a team, right? And I might be leading that project, or any one of you would be leading that project. And we as a team, we have got, like, we need to work complete this project within next 1 month. Okay, so now the thing is, like, the task will be delegated to each and every member of the team, right? So at that point of time, okay, like task, there are total 100 tasks to be done. We are 7 members of the team, so let's go ahead and delegate each and every task to every individual. We'll just do that. So at that point of time, we are just segregating. Like, it's not like, okay, if I'm the project lead, I won't say that, okay, I will do 100 tasks on my own. Why will I do that? Because if I'm doing 100 tasks on my end, that 1 month project will take 7 months time, right? Why should I do that? So I have a team with me. I will just delegate that task. I will just distribute that task. Okay, like, Swamini, you do this, Srinivas, you can do this, and stuff like that. What will happen is that my workload or my burden is less now. I don't have to worry about everything. I have to worry about what I have in my plate, right? And you guys have to worry about what you have in your plate. So that is, like, the concept of delegation. We are just segregating or distributing the work in a format so that someone else can also do it on my behalf. So so this JIT only comes into picture when we have the AD delegated authentication. So AD delegated authentication means, like, AD has given the delegation to Okta that you are allowed to do this work on behalf of me. See, as a project manager, I only should have the authority to give you, right? Like, it should not be that we are 7 members in the team and every member is saying, oh, no, no, you do my work, you do my work. What is this nonsense? Then every guy can give their work to the single guy, no? Then again, that concept of 100 tasks being done by a single person will come in. So that should not be done. There should be a one person who is allowing you to delegate, and that delegation should, it's like, that can happen, that, okay, 100 tasks I give to single person, but then that should make sense, right? Over here in the use case or the example what I'm giving, it's not making sense. So if we have 7 members, then 100 tasks I'm giving to 7 members makes sense. If I have 2 people, who 100 tasks I'm giving to 2 people makes sense. But if I have 7 people, I'm giving 100 tasks to 1 people, that doesn't make sense. So delegation is, like, in a uniform format manner, we are just distributing the tasks. So if in case AD delegated authentication means, like, AD has allowed Okta, go ahead and find my user if you are getting it. And AD authentication means that user would be using the AD credentials at that point of time to log in. There would be Active Directory credentials and Okta. It's not necessary that you have both the credentials same, right? You might be having different credentials for Facebook, for different credentials for Instagram, right? So over here also you might be having different for AD, different for Okta. And But what we are saying is, like, if in case you want to log into Instagram or Facebook, for example, so if you want to log into, sorry, Instagram, then you can use Facebook credentials also. So at that point of time, what will happen is that your Instagram will actually go to Facebook, check if that user is there. If it is there, then just pull that user in and allow you to enter into the Instagram application. So same thing is the application. Although, like, this Instagram Facebook is example is totally bullshit, please don't follow that, because nothing happens of that sort. But over here in Okta, it's like, because we are familiar with social apps much more than we are familiar with Okta and ED apps. So I was just giving you that example. But over here in Okta, what we need to understand is, like, if that JIT, that is just in time provisioning, is enabled, then Okta can go and bring the user and allow that user to leverage the services of Okta. When the JIT is enabled, users do not receive the activation email. So I think you would be remembering that, at that point of time, your user was created in Okta, right? So you would have got an activation email. And if in case you are not getting an activation email, your user will never be in the active state. Like, let's just go ahead and create a user, maybe, something like test user. It's not, there is no email validation whether it's a valid email or not in here in Okta, so you can give any email for the timing. I am not sending anything over here now, I'm just saving it. Okay, so see, this user is in the staged format because I did not send any activation email. So staged format is like, this user is not active yet. Okay, so there is a user which is in the state format. Now if I need to activate it, then I can just activate it, and there would be an email which will be going back to the user. So it would have used that login credentials, I mean the username and password which we have, the username, sorry, this username, and it would have sent an email. Now this is not a validate, I mean legitimate email, so I cannot show you that we have got an email, but it would have done. Okay, now when the user will be clicking on it, you will be getting that option to set your password and activate your account and stuff like that. But now this is in pending user action state. Earlier it was in staged format, right? It was in staged, now it's in pending user action. So that's how the status is getting changed over here. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that's what we were talking about, that if JIT is enabled, then users do not need to receive the activation. So even if they don't receive the activation email, still they are active. Okay, like over here, if they are not receiving the activation email, they are in staged status. But over there, if they're not receiving the activation email, they are not in staged status, they are still active people, because they have an active account in Active Directory. No, they are not like robots or service accounts which are created. They are a legitimate and an active user in AD. That's why they don't require an activation email to be sent. They are directly imported to Okta. Okay, so when you are using JIT provisioning with AD users, the procedure depends on whether delegated or that this is very important, because like if you want to enable JIT and delegation concept is not enabled, you cannot do it. Like this is the kind of a prerequisite. You need to have delegated authentication enabled, and only then you can do the JIT provisioning. So in those scenarios, if you have a delegated authentication enabled, you do not need to import users from AD first for JIT provisioning. If you do not have, you must import the AD accounts first, and they must appear on the imported users for JIT provisioning to create accounts. So don't confuse with these two statements. For as of now, we are going to see what they are saying. We have an import tab over here, but for the time being, just you guys can think it of like we have an import monitoring over here. Currently we don't have anything, that's why it doesn't show. But what it is trying to say is like, if in case your delegated authentication is not enabled, right, so manually, or we can do two types of import. One could be a manual import, one could be a schedule import. Manual import means that you have created a connection between Active Directory and Okta. Now you're manually getting the data. You're manually clicking on a button to get the data manually, right? That you are saying, okay, Active Directory, please give me your account, I mean please give me whatever new users have added today or joined today, please send me. So that is like manually you are going in and doing that stuff. They could be scheduled also at that point of time, like okay, 10 a.m. every day, whatever users you have added during the whole day of the previous day, just give me all that users. So there are two types of import which can happen, right? So what it is trying to say is that if you do not have the delegated authentication enabled, then you need to make sure that you have your AD accounts created created over here. I mean, those accounts have been synced to Okta through import. If they have not been, then you cannot use jet provisioning. If they have been, then you can use it. So that's how it is. Okay, so next, we'll just discuss about the types of people we have in Okta. I just, mentioned about that you have Okta people, directory people, and application. So Okta is like, they all are Okta people. Whatever we have, talked about here or created anything, they all are Okta mastered users. So they are created in Okta. They are authenticated against the Okta policies. So, any policy which I create over here, authentication policy, I mean, if I go to security and create any of the authentication policies, it will be applicable to all those users created within Okta. They are associated with Okta groups. So we have already seen that, we have Okta groups over here. So by default, you'll see that, they have around 6 people. All these users are already within Okta everyone group. So, and provide an alternative login method separate from an external directory governed by Okta user profile. So all these accounts are being governed by the Okta user profiles. If we are talking about directory, they are created in some external directory. Now we are talking about Active Directory and LDAP over here. They are pulled into Okta. Like I have told, there is a synchronization or import process. Those users are being imported from Active Directory to Okta. They are authenticated against the external directory. So that's whatever we discuss about JIT, right? So they are being authenticated against their directory credentials only. They are not getting authenticated in Okta. With the help of Okta, they are getting authenticated, but using their external directory credentials only. Like if they have an account in Active Directory with password and credentials like ABC and 123. So in Okta also they are using those same credentials, and at that point of time they'll be authenticated with AD credentials. So they need to enter the same credentials of Active Directory to get it authentic, to get them authenticated. They are also associated with directory or Okta groups, because any user within Okta can be can be managed with Okta group. Okay, and they are being governed by directory user profile. Now, what is this Okta user profile or directory user profile is like, over here you just see user, right? So this is like Okta user, but if in case there is a directory user, you see like LDAP mastered user, or AD mastered users, you see like AD mastered users. So what it tries to say is like, your profile cannot be edited over there. You see this edit option, no? You cannot edit if an account is coming from Active Directory. The reason being, because you are just fetching the details of that user within that account and showing it into Okta. Nobody has given you the permission to change the stuff in Okta. Like you can do that, I mean, but I am saying their accounts are still governed from Active Directory because they are AD users. They belong to that AD. So they AD should be the first one to, actually, like for example, my email is getting changed. So it should not be done from Okta. It should be done from Active Directory. Then those changes need to reflect in Okta. Okay, but if in case you are like, no, I don't want to do it from AD, or I just want, there can be scenarios wherein you can directly do from Okta itself. You can just directly change it in Okta, and then you say that you send the changes back to the Active Directory. If my name is changing from Vibhor Garg to Vibhor Garg 1, I do it in Okta, and then I say, hey Okta, just send these changes back to the Active Directory. Ideally it should not be done, because this is not like a streamlined process. This is not a good practice, to be honest. But if in case like you want to do it, Okta gives you that liberty to do it. And then we have the final set of users, that is the application users. These are like, again, like directory and application works hand in hand. Like, they are just created in external directory, they are just created in application, but they works very similarly. So they are also pushed into Okta. They are actually, they are pushed into Okta. In directory users are integrated, I mean, pulled into Okta. There is a difference between pulled and pushed. Pulled means that, there needs to be some import happening with the like schedule import, or or maybe something like manual import. With application, it's like, you have integrated an application over here. If you go to the application tab, you have integrated an application over here, and now you have certain users from the applications which you want to be shown over here. So those users will be pulled here. Those users will be pushed back over here. So if we'll just see it for, and that's what this concept of provisioning is all about, which we mentioned. So we are going to see that concept, but just for the time being see that that those users are pushed into Okta. They are also authenticated against Okta or external application directory, and they are being governed by application. So whatever user profile is getting changed on the application side, like same would be implemented on the Okta side. So just we'll stop off. I'll just pause here for a moment, and also we'll conclude our class here today. We've just read about users and groups, some theoretical concepts. Tomorrow we are going to see some practical concepts of how do we create a user, how do we create users using CSV, how do we create groups, how do we manage groups and stuff like that. So if in case you guys have any doubts for the class today, just come up with them before we actually end the class.
I think we are good theoretical part, but once we are doing something practical, maybe we can do more.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys, then thank you for your time today. I would just request you just have a look of whatever we have done till now. Been like mostly on SAML and OIDC. If in case again you have any doubts, just come up with them tomorrow and we can start off from there. Okay. Perfect then. Thank you for your time, guys. Have a good one. Take care.
Thank you. Yeah.